Hello. So we're going to hear a story called A Unicorn in the Garden by James Thurber. I personally believe that this story was written at a moment of absolute mischief. So, A Unicorn in the Garden. One fine sunny morning, a man sat down to breakfast of scrambled eggs, and he looked out of the window and he saw a unicorn in the garden cropping roses. And he was so excited, he ran upstairs, woke his sleeping wife, and said, "There's a unicorn in the garden, eating roses." The wife opened one unfriendly eye at him and said, "The unicorn is a mythical beast." The husband went down and looked and went into the garden. The unicorn was eating the tulips. The man offered the unicorn a lily and said, "Here, eat this lily." The unicorn was white with a nice golden horn on the middle of its face. The man was absolutely happy, and he went and he woke his wife up and said, "The unicorn ate a lily." The wife opened two unfriendly eyes at him and said coldly, "You are a booby, and I'm going to have to put you in a booby hatch." The man, who liked the words booby and booby hatch very little, and even so, on a nice sunny morning, said, "We'll see about that," very mildly, and went away. He went to the garden, but the unicorn had moved on. He sat there for a while and then fell asleep. His wife, in the meanwhile, woke up, got dressed, rang up the psychiatrist and the police, and said that her husband was a booby. The police and psychiatrist came and they found her excited, her eyes all shiny. And they said, "Yes." And the lady said, "It's my husband. He's a booby. He said that he saw a unicorn in the garden eating roses." The psychiatrist looked at the police, and the police looked at the psychiatrist. "He is a booby," she said. The police looked at the psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist looked at the police and nodded his head. And they jumped on her and put the straitjacket on her. And screaming and yelling, they dragged her out. On the way out, the husband came in. And the doctor asked the husband, "Did you tell your wife that you saw a unicorn in the garden?" The husband said, "Not at all. The unicorn is a mythical beast." So they took her, screaming and yelling and kicking, and put her into an institution. The husband lived happily ever after. The moral of the story: do not count your boobies until they are hatched. This is a highly entertaining story by James Thurber. And what makes it entertaining and what I do with the students is really, and over the years, it's always been consistent, asking the students to tell me, to describe to me the husband and the wife. And almost always I've had these description, which is the wife as a robust and rather red-faced lady with curlers in her hair and dark-haired and very big nose, and everything about her is big. And the husband is someone very mild and soft, and the glasses round, and somebody who potters around the house, trying to be as self-effacing as possible, which itself must be an irritation, a source of irritation to the wife who is so full of energy. We have also gone over these words, "We'll see about that," said the husband mildly. So the question really is, how often did they trouble each other? And did they expect that the husband would get the better of the wife? So a lot of answers to those questions, really. And then the concept of the police looking at the psychiatrist and the psychiatrist looking at the police, the way the whole thing is built, they're making up their mind that the lady is absolutely crazy. It's a very beautiful story, and it's a question of wits, really. Um, the man probably, that's what the students conclude, was a little more than just mild. He was a cunning old man, and perhaps just a little crazy. And the wife has taken a hammer to hit a fly, and that's where she makes a mistake, right? So normally when I tell these kind of stories, I keep my book aside and I look at my students and I tell, and it's a lot of fun. Uh, I have to imagine you sitting here in front of me and listening to the story, and whereas in a class, and when I'm acting it out to them, it's a lot of fun. I really enjoy it. I enjoy the story too. It's one of my favorite stories because nowhere are descriptions given. Nowhere is a description of the husband, the wife, the police, the psychiatrist. But what is interesting is that the only thing that has been described is the unicorn and how white it is and its beautiful golden unicorn. Yeah. So that is a story that is for pure entertainment. There's a lot to learn. The English, the language, the way the whole story is presented. That I always do the next day as part of the uh, text material. But the first day is only to enjoy the story and to nitpick on every little word that there is in the story for the children to enjoy the whole thing. Yeah. I even come up with um, ideas of, suppose you were James Thurber, how would you have ended the story? And I take off only the last para and they have to put it in. It's interesting stories for the children. Thank you.